What is going on, everyone? It is Friday night, 11:05-ish here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that good jazz. Rick Ucchino, SP3, the legend himself. He don't light it. It's just for the look. Dutch Mantell here on the show. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Well, wait a minute now. When we have a good show from SmackDown, I'm going to light this sucker up.
Hey, you're the last week was good. You're the one who had to take off and we couldn't do the damn show.
Oh, I guess okay, that's it. I'm writing you up, Rick. He's harassing me on the job.
That might be a record. That's 56 seconds in, and I'm already harassing Dutch here tonight. We do appreciate everybody who is tuning into the show today. Dutch, it's been 2 weeks since you've been on. What have you been up to? The people want to know. They're concerned about you. They're wondering where you've been the last 2 weeks. How you feeling?
Well,
you were ill a couple weeks ago.
Sick as a dog. I don't know if I had COVID or whatever, but I think a lot of people have had it and don't know they've had it. That's what I think happened to me. My daughter's had it twice, and I think I had it, and I said, hell, I couldn't hardly get up and walk to the door. So that was 2 weeks ago. Last week, I was at a signing in New Jersey, which when I finished there, I felt like I had COVID too.
That's just a side effect of being in Jersey, though.
I didn't say that. Rick, you see how Rick wants to knock everything, but
that was for Sid, right? Because Sid's a New York guy. That was a comment for Sid there, so he approved. Everything is all good.
But a very good signing last week, so that's where I've been. So, but it did give me a week away, or 2 weeks away actually, from watching SmackDown and Rampage.
So is it karma then that you return and the show's quality all of a sudden takes a massive dip tonight? They did this just for Dutch tonight, just so we would have something to complain about here tonight on Smack Talk. Because you were not a fan of the show tonight, were you?
SmackDown, I would say, though, between the events, I think we were talking to Sid a little earlier. I think it was slightly better than a Vince-controlled show.
I would say that.
But it was far lower than where I thought a Triple H show would be at this point, even though it was better, but not by a whole lot. The best part of the show was when Gunther and Sheamus had the stare down. That was the best part of the show.
I love that segment. I loved every single thing about that segment. I enjoyed tonight. But it was a lot of this is what I'm chalking it up to, because there wasn't a whole lot of things of note that really happened tonight on SmackDown. They're taping 2 shows tonight. All right. And typically when they tape 2 shows back to back ahead of a big, travel over to the UK, Dutch, what's that thing you like to say? Maintenance shows. This is basically 2 maintenance shows. Like the build to Clash of the Castle, as far as the SmackDown side, is pretty much done. With the Gunther and Sheamus promo tonight, the build to Clash of the Castle is done as far as the SmackDown's concerned. So these are basically 2 glorified house shows that we're getting in Detroit, both this week and next week, because the pay-per-view is going to be 1:00 Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. And planning 4 hours of television can't be easy, especially when you're trying to do things and spread it out over the course of 2 weeks, Dutch.
So their pay-per-view is a week from tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. So I was getting a little confused on it. They have so many between Rampage and WWE. I get confused on these pay-per-view dates.
Because All Out's on Sunday. So next Saturday is Clash at the Castle, 1:00, and then All Out AEW's pay-per-view is Sunday night in Chicago, where both Sid and I will be, which I'm looking forward to that.
So where are you gonna be?
I will be in Chicago that weekend, next weekend.
Okay. All right. Sid, where are you tonight?
I'm still in the UK, but I'm making my way back to United States finally after my long excursion this weekend.
There we go. Look at that. He's finally on his way back. I love it. All right. Well, let's dive into
than never. I disagree with both of y'all, and I will say this felt like Triple H was like, hey, here you go, Dad. It's your birthday. You can book Friday Night SmackDown, because this felt like a Vince SmackDown 100%.
All right, well, let's dive into it from the top here. We open up with a match, which I will never complain about. And I did think it was a good match between Ricochet and Happy Corbin. I love that Triple H is letting Ricochet eat here a little bit and actually going out and doing what Ricochet does best. Ricochet does get the win tonight, just like he did a couple of weeks ago. So this was a rematch that we saw already, and this is a match that has happened many times before. They didn't. They tried to make a story on commentary with Happy Corbin about getting distracted and how he's got all the talent, but he's never been able to put it together. I didn't mind this. I thought this was a fairly good open to the show, but again, this is something that we've seen before.
It's more of the same. You can only watch two people do the same stuff so many times. And Ricochet won this one, right?
Yeah, he's won the last two.
He won the last one too.
And I'll win one. It's been done. So, like I said before we went on the air, if we could take SmackDown and package it into a sleeping pill, and take it, we'd be billionaires.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching a rerun to start the show in the same exact place, Ricochet and Happy Corbin, that we got weeks ago. Then we got it just in reverse order. We got the Pat McAfee telestrator after the match instead of before the match this time. So that was at least fun. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy Ricochet got a win. That's the nicest thing I can say about this opening matchup. It was solid work from both guys, but not too much to get me interested into the show.
Triple H is going to present Ricochet well, right? Ricochet is one of his guys. He's going to get a chance to go out there. I just don't know what you do with Ricochet, because he's coming off of an Intercontinental Championship run that went nowhere. He's the one who dropped it to Gunther. So you're building him up for what? I don't know. And I'm not saying either of you guys know what that is at this point, but I am interested to see what path Ricochet is going to go down here over the next several weeks and several months. We then did get a backstage segment between the Street Profits and Hit Row. They wanted to go get the smoke, and that is apparently exactly what they went on and did. Then we got a run of video packages and promos. One for Drew McIntyre. I thought both of the video packages that they ran tonight for Drew McIntyre were spectacular. WWE does a really, really good job of setting up video packages tonight. Then at the end of the night, Drew McIntyre got his ass whooped. And if you've seen the photos on social media, the battle scars after the beat down, the 4-on-1 for the Bloodline, he really did get his ass whooped tonight. Back bloodied, beat up, bruised, everything like that. SP3, you wrote out on Twitter after everything we saw tonight, you think Drew McIntyre is winning at Clash at the Castle.
Yeah, I mean, the video packages were exceptional. That's what WWE does best, and these felt like kind of like WrestleMania build up the baby phase before his big triumphant win type of moment. And with Triple H, he's gonna try to cater to the fans. They got 70,000 in Cardiff. This is the big event that Drew McIntyre has fought and bled and pleaded for years. It just felt like they were hyping him up, especially with the video packages, and then the beatdown at the end of the night, that they were setting things up for Drew McIntyre to win the undisputed Universal Championships at Clash at the Castle. What are they going to do from there? He can feud with Karrion Kross coming out of the pay-per-view. I don't know what this does for their plans with, Roman Reigns, and if they were going to do Roman versus Cody, if they were going to do more Roman and Seth, if they were going to do Roman versus Rock for the undisputed Universal Championship. I don't know what they're going to do, but the fact that they did these video packages where they made Drew McIntyre seem like the ultimate babyface who's going home to win the big one. They did the big beatdown, and then next week they're doing a whole celebration for 2 years of Roman Reigns as Universal Champion. That's usually what they do for the heel before they're about to drop the title. CM Punk did his whole
now I'm
big
getting deja vu because you said that ahead of day one with Drew McIntyre, where they were talking about passing Brock Lesnar's record.
No. When we day one, I didn't account for COVID. That's what happened at day one when Roman got COVID. I think the plan was for Brock to win the championship there, and that's why they just said, hey, Brock, go win this other title since Roman's not here. So I don't think the title reign would be at this number of 730 days going into next week. If he was healthy at day one. I think he would have lost the Universal title at day one to set up him winning the title back at WrestleMania. But I think there's a chance. I'm more confident than I was last week. I went from last week being at like a 5% Drew McIntyre could win the championship at Clash of the Castle to I'm a good 40% after tonight's show.
I'm still hovering right around 20% because I believe, and actually I'm going to agree. Somebody just put it up there. Marco, I'm agreeing with Marco here. I don't think it's going to be Karrion and Drew for the championship after. I think Karrion is the out for Drew to lose this match. And that's where I'm at right now. Now my mind could change based off of what happens next week. But I think this is setting it up for the old back and forth, right? It's a tennis match. Tonight, it was the Bloodline standing tall. Drew will stand tall next week. And then we're going to head into Clash at the Castle. I think Karrion Kross is going to get involved in some way, shape, or form. At this point, I'm not going to believe that Roman Reigns is losing, Dutch, until Roman Reigns actually loses.
I don't think he's losing either. I mean, that is, if I were going to put that belt on somebody, I don't think I'd put it on McIntyre right now. I think he's missing something. They pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. I just don't see it. SummerSlam is coming up, so I think they're going to
Survivor Series.
Survivor Series is coming up, and I think still that Cody Rhodes he's sitting back there. I mean, if they're going to push him, but I think Drew. How long has Drew been there?
He came back in 2018.
He returned in 2017. He re-signed with the company. He did a stint in NXT, and then he got called up to the main roster in 2018.
Since you're putting percentages on it, I'm going to go Roman retains 70% versus 30.
All right, so we're at 40, 30, and 20. Right now on who's going to win at Clash at the Castle. Again, my mind could be changed depending on what happens next week. What did we think of Karrion Kross's promo tonight, gentlemen? Pretty straightforward tonight, I thought. Any comments?
Well,
concerns?
I was confused about the placement of it. Didn't it play? Where did it play in the show?
It was right after the first video package.
Mm-hmm. I thought it played in an odd spot because it was okay, but I still don't. I think he's still, if he's going to be some kind of a character, he doesn't talk. Maybe they just want him to talk the way he's talking, but I don't quite see it. I'm not quite getting him yet.
I think they're still in kind of a feeling out process with Karrion Kross on what exactly it is they want him to do. He's going to wrestle next week, which is a match that would have already been filmed now at this point. So we'll get more on what he's going to do moving forward. Obviously, they got some big things going for him if he's interjecting himself into the main event scene right away since being brought back to the company. We did get our second chance fatal four-way women's tag team match tonight. Fairly quick match, and I'm wondering if maybe an audible was called because that superplex to the outside, Nikki ASH was grabbing her knee ankle area after she landed directly on her feet coming off of that superplex. I thought there was a chance she might have been hurt. We did see her arguing with Dewdrop later on. So at least she was on her feet. She was doing all right, unless that was filmed beforehand. So, maybe she's all right. Well, hopefully she's okay on that one, but it did look pretty bad. Sonya and Natty end up getting the win because Sonya did the very smart thing, immediately chucked Nikki into the ring and pinned her with everybody else outside of it. So it was a quick, abrupt finish, but it made sense. It was smart for Sonya to do that. Of course, it ultimately meant nothing there, SP3, because they would go on and face Raquel and Aaliyah in the semifinals, and Raquel and Aaliyah won, like everybody knew they were going to do. The interesting thing was this was basically a 2-on-1 handicap match because Aaliyah got taken out on the outside and then never showed up again until the 3 count, and then immediately she's rushing back into the ring and celebrating. It's like, weren't you just like unconscious 3 seconds ago? Like, what the hell happened there?
Did she get hurt, or did she was late, or was that the way it was planned? The clunky finish.
I think the match went exactly as it was planned, but it was a bit of a rush job for her to get back into the ring and celebrate, because she went from 0 to 100. She was out, done, finished, and then all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, bell rings, her team wins, and she's diving on top of Raquel. I did think it was hilarious that Bayley was like, oh, hey, there's Aaliyah. That's convenient. Bayley was a star on commentary tonight. I really did enjoy that. But ultimately, everything we saw out of the women's division tonight, while it's great to see them get some TV time, I don't think it's going to mean a damn thing, because the finals are going to show up SP3 this coming Monday, and Dakota and Io are winning this damn thing. So, like, this whole tournament has been cursed with injuries, and ultimately it's not going to mean a damn thing because Damage Control is going to win the belts like we all knew they were going to in the first place.
It's been fairly obvious since this whole thing started that this was just a vehicle to crown Damage Control, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. But I mean, man, Rick told me on another show, I believe, that he was like, when I said that the opening matchup of Io Sky and Dakota Kai versus Dana Brooke and Tamina should have been like 3 minutes, should have been them squashing them. He was like, oh no, Triple H wants to like make these longer matches. And then we got 2 matches tonight that totaled about 11 minutes. So yeah, that didn't age too well. And
again, I think that I thought an audible was called on the first one. That
doesn't matter if there was an audible called. How about you put one of the other 7 women in the match in the ring if you really think Nikki ASH is injured? You just did your second match. You just did a whole match where Raquel Rodriguez was 1 against 2. You telling me you couldn't do this fatal 4-way and go maybe 2 more minutes without Nikki ASH? No, Nikki ASH is injured. We gotta end this match real quick. No, that's how long the match is gonna go. That's how long the match was gonna go.
Where is Lacey Evans?
Great question.
I mean, they were pushing her and pushing her and pushing her. She was getting over. Then they turned her heel. She was still getting over, and all of a sudden they just stopped it.
The last report that came out was medically not cleared to compete, or medically not cleared to be on the show, which begs the question, okay, if that's the case, why aren't they just doing what they were doing with her in the first dang place, which was having her come out and just get nuclear hot heat promos? That's a very interesting move that's been made here, SP3, to me anyway.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
You had the reason why I didn't care about this fatal 4-way, last chance fatal 4-way, and I'll ask Dutch if he cared, but I didn't, because I don't know who any of these women are. I don't know who they are. Yeah. Like Sonya Deville was like in management before, and she had a character, but ever since she lost that position, she's kind of lost her character. Natalya has just been the same character for the last decade. They took Shotzi's tank away. Xia Li, they took her cool entrance away. Tamina and Dana Brooke have been running around with like chickens with their head cut off in the 24/7 division. I had no reason to care about this matchup.
Me either. The only ones I knew some of them in there, but I didn't care who won. I didn't care. I didn't, usually, I will say I like this one better than this one, but I didn't. They were all the same to me. They were just trying to, and it didn't go long. How long did it go? 4 minutes?
3
Maybe.
minutes.
Yeah.
How much? 3?
3 minutes. Just over 3 minutes.
Wow. Well, the only thing I noticed tonight that was different, they didn't have the in-ring, did they, to start off with? They started it right off, right? They went right into a match, started the show
Yeah.
tonight. Didn't have an in-ring. That's the only thing I noticed different, really, about the show.
I'll say this much for the women's tag team tournament. I feel like this whole thing has been rushed a little bit. I know a lot of fans were clamoring for this, and they were saying, when the hell are we going to get to it? And this was obviously a priority to dive right into it and get to it because it was put on the shelf for so long. I think it would have been much better if they would have just focused on quality instead of quantity. And I say that as they gave us this 8-team tournament by throwing that entire right side of the bracket when it first came out was like random generator in GM mode in WWE 2K whatever, right? Like it was just spin the wheel on The Price is Right, and whatever you land on, that's what you get. I would have preferred, and I think I've said this before, I would have preferred take the best established teams that you got and give me a 4-way round robin double elimination tournament and actually like build some storylines around it and let us get to know those 4 teams, whatever's going to be the pillars of your division. If you don't have them all here yet, okay, again, you could have spread that out over time. I would have liked to have seen Ronda and Shayna in the tournament. I still have hopes that maybe that there'll be a team down the line, but then again, Shayna is facing Liv Morgan at Clash at the Castle. You wouldn't know it by tonight's show because neither one of them were on the damn show. So that seemed like a weird decision to me. So hopefully they're on next week. But I definitely think they have rushed this just a little bit.
They were on the show, but just in a video.
Were they on? Did I miss that?
Yeah.
They showed a video of Shayna kicking her in the face from last week.
Okay, totally missed that. So must have been during a bathroom break or something. Somebody bring it up in the chat. Jay here said Braun Strowman was backstage tonight at SmackDown. Could be something, could not. He is, I do believe he's dating Raquel Rodriguez, is he not? So that could be just a simple old, hey, I'm there to support my woman. So I'm not going to read too much into that. He did make some interesting comments this week about how Control Your Narrative is worth hundreds of dollars, and it's going to be around much longer than AEW ever will. So I'll say this much: don't expect to see Mr. Adam Scher inside AEW anytime soon. Let's talk about the segment of the night that we all agree, at least on SmackDown anyway. Sheamus, Gunther. I could not love this exchange anymore. Sheamus coming out there, reminding everybody who the hell that he is, because I think so many people, either newer wrestling fans, don't know how good this guy is or how storied his career has been and the guys that he's been in the ring with, or people have forgotten at this point because it's been so long since he has been in that upper card scene, talking about fighting Triple H and John Cena and beating those guys and winning world championships. And then Gunther gets in there and just goes complete savage and going complete Ivan Drago. I am going to break you at Clash of the Castle. And then the boys start fighting, and neither Sheamus or Gunther budges one iota, which was hilarious to me. They don't give a crap that it's a 2-on-1 beatdown and Ludwig and Butch are scrambling all over the ring. They did not give a single F. They just stared down each other. I loved every single bit about this tonight, Dutch.
Well, it was a very focused interview, and when all that activity was going on around them, they just looked right at each other. So you know the intensity between those two. They kept it there. And I'm going to have to compliment those guys. They held it at almost the proper time they should have held it, and they got out. And it was like the fight, they didn't give a crap about that. They just cared about each other. So, and I'm sitting there looking at it like a fan, and it dawned on me, well, these guys don't care what these other guys do. It's just between them. I like that a lot. Best part of the show, in my opinion.
SP3, what do you think?
I would go as far to say this was the best thing on either show. I love the intensity between these two guys, and like Sheamus said, banger after banger after banger. Sheamus has been the most consistent and reliable performer on SmackDown this entire year. I would argue that the two best matches that we've seen in recent memory on SmackDown was him versus Drew McIntyre in the Irish Donnybrook match, and then last week when in that fatal five way, that was an amazing matchup as well. So Sheamus delivers banger after banger after banger after banger, and that's what he's gonna deliver at Clash at the Castle. Him and Gunther is gonna be great, and Gunther is just so convincing as the overlord of the ring. The mat is sacred, the ring general, and he just comes off like an evil villain, and it might make Sheamus a babyface come Clash at the Castle, which I'm interested to see.
Oh, he will be. Sheamus will be a babyface. He's in Wales. He's a UK guy.
Yeah.
Of course, he's going to have 70,000 people screaming for him. So I'm almost more interested in seeing Sheamus and Gunther than I am seeing McIntyre and Roman.
I agree with you. I'm more interested in that match than Drew and Roman. To be fair, I'm interested in like half the all out card more than Drew and Roman. But to talk about Clash of the Castle, yeah, Sheamus and Gunther is the match I'm looking forward to the most now.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to Drew and Roman because I remember what those guys did at Survivor Series against one another. And I think that match is going to be very, very good. But yes, this match intrigues me more because I do think there is more than a puncher's chance that Sheamus might actually win this match, which would be interesting. And I hope that Sheamus does get the Intercontinental Championship one day to complete the Grand Slam for him. I know he's talked about that for 3 years. This is something that he really wants to accomplish. I don't know if now is necessarily the right time to do it because Gunther has been booked perfectly. Even throughout everything that's been going on backstage in WWE, his presentation since he got up has been absolutely flawless. And I do hope, by the way, SP3, that they do turn Sheamus babyface because Sheamus is hilarious. And like, I just let that man actually show off some of his personality. He will get over. He will. Just let him be himself. That man is hilarious. Dutch, you know how funny that man is.
Oh, he's great. I like when he called him Lad. Let me tell you something, Lad. And he's a great talker, but he's a great talker on the mic, and he's entertaining as hell in the locker room. I mean, he's just funny. You like him automatically. I don't think we're going to see Gunther lose to Sheamus, even though they're in the UK. See, they just started. Gunther's a new project, and that's what WWE has been lax on. They'll get a guy going, and all of a sudden just stop his momentum dead in his tracks. But I don't think they're going to stop Gunther. This might be a good spot for just a wild fight out in the crowd. I think that would excite everybody. You don't see that often, and WWE doesn't like you to do that because of a potential lawsuit or something. But I think you're going to see both guys come out of this looking pretty good to set it up later on down the line. That's what I see. That's what I would do. Because if you beat Gunther at this point, you're actually cutting your nose off to spite your face. Because they got Gunther kind of moving now. Sheamus been there 10 years. They could rejuvenate him. Not that he needs it at this point, but they could restart him, and he's still in the same spot as he is before the match. Yeah, and I think Gunther keeps rolling, and he should at this point.
Yeah, Sheamus has got that equity build up. He's kind of like he's kind of like Rollins in a way that like his resume speaks for himself. So if he takes a series of losses, he's not really hurt by it. And yeah, if he starts winning, okay, you believe it because he's been there, he's done that, and he's done it multiple times. So yeah, I think Gunther winning this is the right call, but eventually Sheamus is going to win that IC title, and it's going to be the right call. And I would like to see Sheamus go babyface and just be him. Like, don't be Vince's version of a baby face. Just be Sheamus and just be effing hilarious. And I think that would be really, really fun to watch play out on television. We got more of Hit Row. We saw a bus that was playing the Hit Row theme, and it was ruining the Maximum Male Models photo shoot, ruining the vibe of it to the point that we got Los Lotharios that were brought over by Maxine with some spray paint because that was going to show them what the hell was going down. They spray paint the bus. Hit Row comes over, challenges him to a match. Then we realize it's not actually their bus. It was the Street Profits bus. They got all pissed off. So now it's like we got Los Lotharios, Maximum Male Models, Hit Row, and Street Profits all fighting over what? I'm not sure, but we got a hodgepodge of tag team action here, gentlemen.
I was lost on that. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I thought that the Maximum Male Models, I still think they're dead. They're still dead, basically. Their best part is their spokesman. What's his name? Knight? Or is that his other name? What's this guy's name?
That was his other name. It's Max Dupree.
Oh yeah, Dupree. He's the best part of it, but I was totally lost on that. I didn't give a crap if they never bring it back because it didn't interest me the first time. And the girl is still there. Dupree is still there. They're just adding to it. I don't get it.
Yeah, now it looks like there's some kind of an alliance here, SP3, with Los Lotharios. Maybe they're going to be part of it. I mean, they are two handsome gentlemen. I don't know. But hey, at least Maximum Male Models are finally wrestling, right? Like we've kind of been wondering all this time, what does any of this have to do with wrestling? Well, now Mansois and Marseille are going to throw down next week with Hit Row.
The Lotharios would be better Maximum Male Models than the two they got.
This is true. I agree with that. If they have Los Lotharios join them, I'd be more interested.
Yeah, they'd be hilarious doing it. They have a great time. We know they can work. So the other two can probably work too. I don't know. But I think the Lotharios, that's what I thought they came over for, is kind of try to get into the group. But they didn't. They was going to paint the bus down. So again, I don't get it.
Angel Garza is another one of those guys that is it's just like he's got this great infectious personality and he's funny and he's a guy that I'd like to be able to see that portrayed on television. So literally anything that he gets to do, I'm going to be all for it. Just get him on television more because that dude is a star. He just needs the opportunity to showcase it. So we'll see what they do with that. I will, SP3, I did want to ask you this though, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but Max Dupree is talking more like LA Knight, isn't he? Like he's definitely like dropped some of that Max Dupree attitude since Triple H has taken over. Some of that delivery, at least a little bit.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you because that's another thing that didn't really grab my interest. Like they had me after that first runway stuff. They haven't done any of the runway stuff. They've been doing these backstage, photo shoot. They did the whole thing with Hit Row last week with Hit Row doing the rap. That was fine, but yeah, I was like, okay, Hit Row is, friends with the Street Profits. I was interested in it. And then the payoff was, Maximum Male Models spray painted Street Profits bus, not Hit Row's bus. Whoa, we really got the fans. We really swerved them there, bro. It's
boy, I'm mad now, buddy. I'm so pissed off.
Brian Dunlap says bring back Breezango to feud with the models. I think that would genuinely be hilarious. Maximum Male Models and the Fashion Police in some kind of
that would be good.
Yeah, I do miss Breezango on my TV screen, that's for sure. What are we gonna say? All right, so let's talk about Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. The more of these backstage segments that we get, the better, in my opinion. Sami Zayn, like, finally Sami Zayn is like that nerdy high school kid who finally gets let into the club, right? Like hours after the bouncer finally feels bad for him and lets him in at like 3 a.m. Or some horse shit like that. And he finally gets in there and he's getting to talk to Roman Reigns for the second week in a row. I love that Jay is still giving him the stink eye. Roman says that he's appreciative of Sammy eating the Claymore last week, says he needs a favor from the master strategist. And Sammy says, hey, look, it is a piece of cake. This is what I do best. I'm going to get in his head. I'm going to do the dance. Everything's going to be great. Of course, he goes out there and he gets his ass whooped in the match. McIntyre wins, which was absolutely the right call because he should beat Sami Zayn. He's the one with the title shot at Clash. But then we get that absolutely brutal beatdown. That match ended at 9:53, 9:54. And I'm like, we got 6 minutes left. What the hell are they going to fill that 6 minutes with? They filled it with an ass whooping is what they did. I'm like, is anybody going to come out and help Drew? Are we getting another return? Are we setting anything up? No, the only thing it set up was this absolutely glorious shot at the end where Drew is out and down and flat on the mat. They put the chair on his throat. Roman sits on it. They drape both titles over him. And then the Usos and Sammy all holding up the one finger at the end of it. It was an absolutely spectacular shot to close out the show and just total domination of Drew McIntyre at the end. But it is nice to SP3 to finally see not only Sammy like actually, talking with Roman and mixing it up with Roman, but now actually, collaborating and working with the Bloodline and setting up these traps and setting up these plans. It's almost like he actually is a member of the group now. Almost.
I just love the dynamic. I just love the dynamic of Jimmy Uso is friends with Sami Zayn. They got their own handshake with each other. Roman Reigns, you said the whole, letting them in with the bouncer. No, he's the nerdy kid that the jocks have let into their group because they want to cheat on his test. They want to cheat off his test. They want to cheat off his test in math class, and they're letting him be a part of the group. Like, yeah, you're down with us. You're down with us. And Roman's like, let me see your test after just put your test on the side there. Go soften up Drew or distract Drew long enough. Remember, he said distract Drew. He just needs Drew occupied to set up this beatdown at the end. So I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad they included Sami Zayn in the beatdown as well, hitting the Aluva kick. I didn't think the beatdown was so great. I just thought the final picture of Roman sitting on top of Drew McIntyre with Sammy just like tinkering in over Roman's shoulder and right next to Jimmy. And I love the dynamic of Jey Uso being the number one hater, being a part of the haters of the month club, and just hating on Sami Zayn even being involved in this, hating on the fact that Jimmy has a handshake with him, hating on the fact that Roman is allowing him into the group and listening to him talk trash about Jay last week and Jay being upset about that. I love all this dynamic, and it's making the Bloodline interesting again.
So Jimmy has the handshake with him, right?
Yeah.
I like the other one. Jay was telling me, get the door. See, they can shoot this angle whenever they want to with Sami Zayn, because it's been ready for a month anyway, and I think the people would be ready for it. I was almost kind of hoping this would be a good spot for tonight, and that's what they keep confusing me on, because when they get an angle right, they keep making you guess when they're going to shoot the whole thing. But the people, they would really, I was thinking they were in Montreal last week.
Yeah.
If they'd have shot that angle there, the place would have come in. The roof would have come in. So he's over there. Big time.
Yeah, big time. Sammy got a massive ovation last week. They wanted him to win that number one contenders match for the Intercontinental Championship. They were begging for him to win that match. Sheamus winning was the right call, but my goodness, that roof would have blown off had Sami Zayn won that match last week. And I do think that the fans are ready for Sammy to get a babyface run. I think they have long been wanting that to happen. And a lot of people are hoping that we get, as Steven brought up, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn teaming up soon to beat the Usos. Yep. And I think that is the logical path forward. And now, that's what we were saying weeks ago with the Usos, constantly being in Sammy's face, and especially with Jay giving him the stink eye and saying, hey, look, I know you're a leech. Get the hell out of my locker room, right? Like, that was the hope. It's like, okay, so Sammy and somebody have to take the tag team titles off of him. Why not Kevin Owens? And now all of a sudden we're getting prize fighter NXT version KO back, who looked like a heel initially, but now he's just this badass tweener. It doesn't matter. Over in Toronto, because of course he is. He's Canadian, and now also has mixed it up with the Usos recently. SP3, this has got to be where they're going, because the Usos don't have anybody else to fight at this point. It's got to be babyface KO and Sammy finally winning the tag team titles off those guys. It has to be.
Unless they plan on heating up Hit Row and getting them out of this feud with maximum male models as quick as possible, that's the only other option besides eventually putting Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens together. And it just makes too much sense. Like, you can make it, them coming together, in the next couple of weeks, or you can prolong it a little bit more. You can do Sammy getting a shot at Roman. Like, Roman views him as an easy option to verse for the championship if he retains that Clash of the Castle, and he chooses him to be his next challenger. And then Sammy puts out a great effort, but the Usos are the ones that cost Sammy that matchup, and then it eventually leads to him. KO is another option to face Roman for the Universal Championship, because he did say Roman owes him one, and we got the whole interaction last week where Roman told Sammy, tell your boy KO I don't owe anybody anything. So they have set it up very nicely where it can logically get to Zayn and Owens teaming up with each other to verse the Usos, and I would love it. I want to see it. I want to see that more than anything. I want to see a payoff and a conclusion to this whole story of Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. Something that looked like it was just going to be a 1 week, one-off thing has become the most interesting thing about the top faction in WWE, and it's just amazing. I'm so happy for Sami Zayn.
And that's
it books itself. It's already booked anyway. As long as they got a 2-month run out of that anyway, straight up right now. And they've done a good job with it.
And let's just assume here, right, that WrestleMania season, that the plan and the hope, and let's just go ahead and say they actually get the dream match set up between The Rock and Roman Reigns, right? A lot of that is going to center around family. There has to be a first crack in that foundation. They talked about tonight on commentary about how the Bloodline is the most dominant faction in wrestling history. Okay, bold statement. Don't know if I actually agree with that, but it's a bold statement. Pat McAfee. And they're saying they're dominant and no one's going to stop them. There has to be that first crack in the foundation that ultimately leads to the group kind of the descent in the family and the chaos, and then all of a sudden here comes Big Bad Daddy Rock back to kind of get everything back together, or so he thinks, and we can lead into the Roman Reigns Rock match at WrestleMania. I don't think that first crack is Roman losing the world title. I don't think that needs to be the first. That's the straw that breaks the Bloodline's back, is him dropping that championship, whether it be to Cody Rhodes or Karrion Kross or whomever he's going to drop it to, or Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn even. But I think those two guys winning the tag team titles, that's got to be the first crack for the Bloodline there. Let's move on to Rampage here. Make sure to keep getting your comments in, guys. I know I haven't been getting to a whole lot of those. If you want to send in a super chat as well, you can do so to make sure to guarantee that we get those in throughout the before the show ends here today. So let's dive into Rampage. SP3, your time to shine here. Trios tournament, hot and crazy. Already got a great semifinal that has been set up for Dynamite next week. Now we know the direction that we're going. When this thing laid out, especially with Hangman saying that he was always going to be there in the corner of the Dark Order and not join the Young Bucks, I always thought that the Dark Order was going to be kind of a dark horse in this, and I liked them to ultimately get to the finals in some way, shape, or form. Hangman has to come in somehow, some way, We already know that Evil Uno is not going to be part of this. They're down to 3 members. So logistically, somebody could get hurt, as we have talked about before on another program, I believe. And then Hangman can interject himself and maybe end up facing Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks in the finals. That's what we hope. But how does the Dark Order get there? Well, they did a great setup tonight. I thought Dark Order defeats House of Black, which looked like a mismatch on paper, thanks to Miro, who came out there to tackle the 3 pagans, as he calls it. I love Miro's music, man. Just like an old, like a Bulgarian gunfighter showing up in the Old West to just take down the bad guys, right? He comes down, makes the distraction. Alex Reynolds rolls up Malachi for the win. Then Miro gets beat down. And then here comes Darby and Sting to save the day. Commentary bringing up how odd of a combination that is, considering the history between Miro and Darby Allin. But I thought all of this played out really, really nicely. I'm not one for distraction finishes, and I felt like we got a little too many of them tonight. But I did like how all of this opened up Rampage tonight.
Yeah, I thought it was a smart way to protect House of Black if they're going to take their first loss and need it to become by a distraction or somebody interfering, and Miro doing it, who Miro's kind of been this tweener type character. It made a lot of sense. I wish that they would have done more to make it look like the referee didn't see Miro attacking 2 people in the match, because that should have been a disqualification. Okay. Other than that, I think they did everything right in this match, other than that little nitpick there, especially the fact that they have already set up the person who is going to be out of the equation in 10, because the knee was the story for the Dark Order, his injured knee with the brace on it. House of Black attacked it. Malachi had him in the knee bar and looked like he was about to tap when Miro's music hit. So they have already set up the kind of thing that is probably going to take him out of the equation in the semis against Best Friends, and set up Hangman coming in at least for the finals for Dark Order.
Dutch, what'd you think of the opening, other than the referee botch, which it seems like more often than not, commentary, if there is a screw up with officiating, they just say, well, it's up to the official's discretion. That always seems to be their go-to excuse.
One thing about wrestling fans, they are forgiving. They'll just let a lot of things go, whatever, as long as the end result is that they like it. And there was nothing to dislike about this match. I think Miro coming down was a good spot. And then Sting and Darby Allin coming down. Well, Sting wasn't in no hurry to get in that ring, was he?
Never is.
Hell, he could have rolled down there and got faster. And he got in last, and people just run away from him, and he just stood there and looked at him. But I'm not a big fan of the trios tournaments, because you got so many people, so many managers. They confuse me. But it was a good start to the show. Nothing wrong with it. Great start. So, and I'm going to have to say Rampage was better than SmackDown tonight.
Yeah.
One thing, it's an hour, which is not such a chore to watch. But they had a pretty decent show tonight. One thing that surprised me tonight about Rampage is they didn't pay enough attention to Punk and Moxley. I thought they would have paid a lot more attention to that, set it aside. And did they ever say what happened to his ankle? Is it broken? Is it not broken, or what?
We have not gotten an official word from them. I don't believe this to be a shoot injury. I think this is 100% a work, and was done in a way to give us a shocking result on Wednesday, which was Punk getting squashed inside of 5 minutes.
And it did. He didn't get squashed. He got hurt, which is a difference. I mean, if you're going to lose, to me, that's the best way to lose. You get hurt, and it's to your benefit to get pinned, to keep from getting hurt more. So it shocked the people, and I don't know where this interview, where this match finish came from, but it was one of the better ones that I have seen in years, because they had all this momentum built up, all this anticipation behind them, and all of a sudden he hurts his leg, which is believable. And he goes down, and Moxley pins him, 1, 2, 3. Nobody expected it. A lot of people ran in the ring to check on him. But what they did, they closed that one door they had and opened about 6 or 7 more. Now they can do anything with this angle that they want to do. Because you've heard me say this before, it's not the first thing you do an angle. It's the second thing. Now we're waiting on the second act of this angle between Mox and Punk. And are they on the next pay-per-view or no?
We don't know yet. And Media M5 saying here, most likely this was done to build to the pay-per-view match for Punk to win in Chicago, possibly. And I think that might be the case. Who knows? I think there's a few other. There might be one person hanging out there that we haven't seen in a few months who could alter that. MJF is expected back soon. But yes, these two guys definitely seem like they're heading toward a rematch at All Out in Chicago.
And that's September 4th.
Yeah. So we're not that far away.
Booked, it's a work. If it's not booked, it wasn't a work. He did hurt his ankle. But I think, like you said, I think it was planned.
Oh, yeah.
Because, so who do you think came up with that idea? And I'll tell you who I think came up with it.
Well, I don't know that the idea to do the match early was Jon Moxley's idea. And I think that the whole finish was Jon Moxley's idea too, because it makes Moxley look like the baddest dude in wrestling. It makes him look like a world beater, but at the same time, it protected CM Punk, because I think the idea of the matchup of doing it early is, if you are gonna do this match at All Out, you wanted to do this match on the show to pop the rating, but to not give away what they're gonna do in a pay-per-view like quality matchup going 15-20 minutes on the pay-per-view. So this was the perfect way out of it. It's playing off of something that we know with Punk being injured. I thought they would have done more with what they gave us on tonight's show, showing the highlights and showing Punk backstage saying that it just gave out, and it was a similar feeling to when he first injured his foot. I thought that we were going to get like a promo or something from Punk to kind of set up the main event of All Out. So I think that they missed out on an opportunity by not doing that. But I'm very much interested of what they're doing, because this was something that no one really called. No one thought they would see it being a 3-minute matchup. And if I'm CM Punk, I am never going back to Cleveland ever again in my life. This man walked out of WWE in Cleveland. He got squashed in under 3 minutes in his UFC debut in Cleveland, and then he lost the world title in 3 minutes in Cleveland. Never go back to Cleveland, CM Punk.
You could have ended that. You could have ended that sentence at "never go back to Cleveland." And for anybody, for literally anybody, there's no reason to ever go to Cleveland, ever.
That is true. What's the name of that arena there?
In Cleveland, Quicken Loans? Is that where they were at tonight?
Nice arena, but
all right.
I think this angle was done perfectly. I kind of think it's almost like Punk's idea to do that, because he was getting beat.
Well, he had to agree to it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He is definitely going to protect his own booking, that's for sure. So this was obviously an idea he signed off on. If it wasn't,
when you looked at the crowd after that match, they was going, "What the hell?"
All of us were.
Yeah,
it was similar. It was similar to the reaction of fans for Brock and Undertaker, or Brock and Goldberg from Survivor Series 2016, where people were like utterly shocked, like, what the hell did we just see?
I felt the same way when Goldberg beat Brock inside of 3 minutes. Like that's exactly heck, I think it was inside 2 minutes or inside a minute, basically. I felt the exact same way. You had a feeling something fishy was going on when that match wasn't the main event and it was on at 9 o'clock. I think we were all expecting shenanigans, DQ finish, no contest, something like that. Nobody was expecting Jon Moxley to win that match inside of 5 minutes. And I agree with you, SP3. I loved that Mox went full Cobra Kai, no mercy. I don't give a damn if you just hurt your ankle. I'm going to stomp on your foot. I'm going to give you 2 paradigm shifts, and I'm walking out the unified AEW World Championship. I absolutely love that booking.
Well, that's the best thing they've done since I've been watching the show, because it surprised the people. And what I'm surprised about, well, I'm not surprised about it, but they have so many ways to go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they could go a bad way. I mean, they could, I guess. I don't know, but I think they got enough experience between them to, especially Punk, that knows exactly where to go with it. So, actually proud of that finish, and they pulled it off.
Jim Thom saying never go to Cleveland sounds like an episode of The Twilight Zone. I went to a bachelor party in Cleveland. Yeah, I could probably write a Twilight Zone episode about that. I don't know how I ended up going to a bachelor party in Cleveland. We were supposed to go to Atlantic City, but that is a story for another time. We got Menard and Parker, SP3, continuing to call out your boy Hook, and I love that he doesn't give a shit.
I got a bitch about when he walked off, I don't care. The people walk right in. That was the man. They want to kill him. They're right there. They're 5 feet from him. And they said, did he just leave? Or didn't they just see him leave?
Yeah, well, and she even said that. She was like, he's literally right there. She said that.
Menard and Parker are the Lenny and Squiggy of AEW. Like they come off like comic book flunkies. They're not even the main villain. They're the flunkies. They're Bulk and Skull. They are not the main villains.
Where AEW needs help on those interviews. I mean, you got to have, if the guy is right there, there's no way to. I mean, it's just an odd feeling.
No, see,
let him go for 20 seconds or something. Let him get get down the hall.
I think part of it was, and this is how I'm reading into it, they obviously knew he was right there, but they weren't going to pick a fight with him there because they're all talk. They don't want none of Hook. All right, they're all talk. They'll sit there and say, yeah, we want to take that FTW champion. They don't actually want a piece of Hook. The second that Hook steps up to him, those two are going to back down like a couple of bitches. That's exactly what is going to happen when that goes down. And yeah,
well, I know wrestling fans put that much thought in it.
Probably not. And I tend to overthink everything.
They could have come in and said, is he gone? Is he gone? That's what they should have done. And said, well, I'm glad he's gone because we were going to pick a bone with him or whatever. Now it kind of changes itself. I don't know. But they do need help in those backstage interviews quite a bit.
Dutch, I know you're a fan of a good squash match, and we got 2 of them back-to-back here. We had Wardlow decimating Baby Dolph in the battle of 2 dudes from the inferior Ohio City. And then Powerhouse Hobbs squashes Johnny Jobber tonight. Which one did you like better?
I liked Hobbs because Hobbs went in there and just beat the crap out of him. Wardlow played with him. That was. I thought he hurt him when he put him down on that 3rd power bomb because he put him down right on his butt, which can hurt. But I liked Hobbs's match better than I did Wardlow. So I don't know where that's going to go. I'd hate to see Wardlow and that big guy.
Sanjay, or not?
What's his name?
Satnam Singh.
What's
you don't want to see if Wardlow can power bomb 7 foot Satnam Singh.
I think that to be a disaster. I really do, because the guy's greener than grass. Wardlow's not that experienced. So you got to watch putting those guys together like that. I mean, unless you want to go and spend 2 days in a gym with them, just to get 3 or 4 minutes out of them. See, they could actually hurt each other, not physically, but they could hurt each other physically. But if people see this, they say, "Damn, these guys are little shits." You try to hide all that stuff from them, and the only thing that you could send him through Sanjay and send him to Jay Lethal and the other kid, and maybe save the big guy for last, I guess. but just the sheer size of the big Indian guy is enough to sell the match. But I don't know what kind of quality it would be.
And I think SP3, that's why they've brought in the Motor City Machine Guns for All Out instead of Sanjay and Satnam in this match now.
Yeah, because it seemed like we were building to Warlow and Santam Singh, and now the machine guns are involved. I think that, yeah, that's why we're getting this trios match, is because they realized that the only way a Santam Singh versus Warlow match would be good is if it's like less than 5 minutes and Warlow wins. So he's basically squashing who Tony is trying to build up as his next like big giant. So that didn't make a whole lot of sense. So it makes sense that they moved in a different direction. I can't wait for the machine guns, and I liked seeing my buddy Chris Sabin. I did an interview with him earlier this year. Seeing Chris Sabin on AEW was nice.
So here's my thing with this. As we've already hit an hour, and I know we gotta rush to get through everything, or I'm gonna get yelled at. But I don't think you do at this point. I don't think you do for exactly what you said. You're trying to build, if you're Tony Khan, setting him up as this big, unstoppable giant, right? You can't do a match with Wardlow unless you're going to have Satnam win, which you also can't do. So if you're building this whole thing around whether or not Wardlow can powerbomb the guy, okay, well, just build to that spot, because that was what was selling. It's an attraction spot. That's what they were doing to sell the match was, can Wardlow powerbomb this dude? If he can, okay, have him powerbomb him, because you know they're going to get involved in this trios match. Have Wardlow powerbomb the dude at All Out, and that's it. It's over. You don't even have to do a match between those guys if they can do it safely, because otherwise, yeah, Dutch, you're right. That could be absolutely disastrous.
Well, I don't know what you're going to do with the big guy anyway over a period of time. I mean, those big guys, they're a flash. Then when people know they're not exciting or they go more than 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I mean, it looks odd for a guy that size, because not everybody's going to even be close to his size. And I think you hurt him by putting him in the ring. He can't. If he had momentum, he can't carry it. Is what I'm saying.
I did think one of the more interesting things, Sid, was not necessarily Powerhouse Hobbs squashing some Ace Today, whatever the hell his name was. It was the Factory bloodying up Ricky Starks after the match. I thought that was the interesting thing, because like, I know they're trying to get one of these two dudes on their side. Obviously now they've trying to align themselves with Hobbs. If this doesn't lead to like Hobbs beating all of their ass because he doesn't feel like he needs their help, I don't know where the hell else this is going.
I mean, if you want to make Ricky Starks look strong going into All Out, they can do something like next week on Rampage, a gauntlet match where he beats all of the Factory and looks like the triumphant babyface to get himself ready for Powerhouse Hobbs. They can do something like that. But yeah, I didn't understand why we're putting over the Factory. Why the Factory is on my TV. I didn't understand that at all. And why are they making your rising babyface Ricky Starks bleed from the mouth? I didn't get it.
Yeah,
Wait a minute. Ortiz, was he bleeding tonight when they get a shot of him?
Yeah, so
that was the most insane thing I've seen this year.
Yeah, all right. So going on to the next match here, right? Sammy and Ty Mello, they defeat Ortiz and Ruby Soho. Anna JAS, that she's called now, she throws Ruby into the steps. That allows Sammy to hit the top rope cutter, right? And we just saw Ortiz, his right side of his face, right? He was pounding on Sammy in the corner, and he was fine. We cut to the angle with Anna J, chucking Ruby into the steps. We come back. Sammy has now crawled his way over to the top rope. Ortiz turns around into the cutter, and then immediately he flips over, and blood everywhere. And for the second there, I'm like, holy shit, Sammy just hit the most violent cutter in the history of professional wrestling, because dude bro just drove his face down into the mat so hard, he crushed his face. Like, that is exactly, there had to be a cut. There had to be a cut. There had to be an edit. I don't know if the match was stopped. I don't know. But he was bleeding before he took that cutter. but he wasn't bleeding before Anna Jay did he got messed up somewhere, and I don't know where it happened. I think that was a bad edit. We missed something. Either they didn't catch it on camera or what. We missed something, and it confused everybody.
Well, it confused me. I said, damn, where'd that come from? Because it wasn't needed, so it had to be a potato.
It had to be accidental. I don't know. He was bleeding. And even if he did just freshly get cut, there was too much of it. It was so fast. His whole face was covered in blood.
I don't know where it came from. He was bleeding.
That looked like a video game. It looked like, WWF No Mercy when you hit somebody with a big move and then they automatically just start bleeding. I was like, yo, I had to rewind it and watch it a few times. Like, when did he start bleeding?
Forget No Mercy. It looked like Goldeneye. It looked like he got a headshot. That's what it looked like. Just boom. Cutter and like got his face all smashed in. Otherwise, this was a fairly fun mixed tag match on the night. We did get a backstage segment with Jade Cargill as well. She kicked what's her name, Layla Gray, out of the baddie, so the interim baddie is gone. Kind of weird that Stokely wasn't there tonight, at least with her and the baddies, Jade and the baddies, but she said Athena can come get these hands at All Out. So finally they set up that match. Athena said, I ain't waiting. And they started brawling backstage. But let's get in.
That's another example of a 5 feet distance. Because that girl was right there. Couldn't she looked over there and saw her?
Well, maybe she was crouching behind something. She's 5'1", Dutch. She's easy to miss.
It's a set. People know that. That just peeves me to death. I mean, it's not like wrestling doesn't suffer from a lot of misconceptions anyway. But she was, all of a sudden, she's talking about the girl, and the girl was right there. I mean, you can look out.
She could have been running from a mile away.
Maybe I'm trying to put too much realism into this, but please, if you're going to make it a fantasy that you can halfway be believed. That's why I'm saying they need help in their backstage segments a lot.
Stephen Chambers saying it looks like Athena is going to beat Jade at All Out. I would love to see it. I don't think that's happening. And I
don't think it's happening either.
No, because there's been very little build to this match, at least on a week-to-week basis. They have kicked this can down the road. And Athena's been there since May, and I think she's had all of 4 televised matches since she's been there. They are not booking her and building her up as the one who's going to beat Jade Cargill, although I would love to see it. I love Athena. I wish she got some more TV time. I wish a lot of the women got TV time. Hey, Ozzy, I'm 5'9". All right? I am major league average in the height department. All right. So, enough with the jokes there. Let's get to the main event tonight. Your boy, Claudio Dutch, defending his Ring of Honor world title against the natural Dustin Rhodes. Really good match with a really clunky finish. Claudio took one right in the Castagnolis on a leapfrog, but he was able to recover, hit the uppercut and win the match. What'd you think of the main event tonight?
You're asking me?
I am asking you.
It was a good main event. But if this is what I think also, they need a little more emphasis on their main events. I mean, they need to build it just a little, promote it, do the show a little more. See, AEW's got a pretty decent show. I don't like the announcer setup. They had 4 announcers tonight with Jericho. And does Shivani say much, or does he just sit over there on the edge and just listen to him?
Somebody's got to shut up if they got a 4-man booth. They all can't be talking.
That's what I'm saying. They got too many announcers.
That was the biggest problem with the earliest episodes of Rampage, is they had 4 guys on commentary, and they were all trying to talk at the same time. And that's when they had Mark Henry on the desk before they moved him back to, it's time for the main event, and that's all he's going to really say.
That was one of the better moves they made, when they moved him off the desk and put him on to, it's time. And actually he's got over with that, but
he has
too many announcers, and you can't hear what either of them say. I miss it. If I didn't have closed captioning, I'd miss all of it.
The commentary is so much better when Jericho isn't there. Like, it just becomes so much better, in my opinion. I agree with Dutch. It's too much with four people there. Yeah, without Jericho, it's a lot better.
I think so too.
That said, when they replaced Jericho with William Regal tonight, that was lovely. You know, that was a lovely combination. You know, he added a lot to it. Like I like Jericho, and I understand what he's trying to do on the commentary desk, but yeah, it doesn't mesh with what they're trying to do very well. Before we wrap up here tonight, we did get one super chat. I want to make sure to bring it up here as we go back to WWE. Roland Curtis, we do appreciate that super chat. McIntyre's video and story feels incomplete without mentioning that McMahon anointed Drew the future of WWE, future world champ. He understands that Vince is a sensitive subject right now, but he's asking, could the current anointed future world champion, in theory, cash in his Money in the Bank at the pay-per-view? Based off of what we saw on Monday, SP3 with himself and Johnny Gargano, I don't think Theory's going to be trying any cash-in attempts anytime soon.
See, if they really want to do this, the way to do this, if they're going to do Drew McIntyre winning the title, is have Theory cash it in the middle of the matchup, make it a triple threat, and then Drew hits the Claymore on Theory, and that's how he wins the undisputed Universal Championships, because that's how you protect Roman Reigns. He got screwed over. You can do more Drew and Roman whenever Roman is available to do it, but you can still have your champion be on the show week after week, and Theory has lost so much that it doesn't hurt him too much to lose to Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns. So that's how you get rid of this Money in the Bank, which is not a Triple H idea, even though Triple H is said to be high on Theory. I don't think that he would have had Theory win Money in the Bank.
I don't think he would have either, and I've said similar in the past that that is how I would, if you're going to have Drew win, I would like to see that happen to protect Roman. But at the same time, I don't know if that's something that Drew would want. I think Drew would want to beat Roman and not beat Theory. I feel like that would be kind of like a hollow victory for him. I don't know if that necessarily fits his character.
I mean, Dutch, why do we care what Drew thinks? Like, Dutch, if you were booking it, are you really gonna be like Drew's like, oh no, I think it means more if I beat Roman. Well, why do I care? I care about protecting Roman Reigns for this Rock match. I don't care about what Drew thinks.
His character. Why I think Drew would kind of go prideful, dumb babyface syndrome here a little bit. He wouldn't want to beat Theory, he'd want to beat Roman Reigns.
So what? It doesn't matter. You win the champion. His whole goal is not, I need to beat Roman at class. He said he wants to be the undisputed champion. He could be the undisputed champion and then challenge Roman Reigns. Hey, whenever you come back, you can have a rematch. You could do that, but you're going to be like, oh no, I don't want to win this way, so I'm not going to win it this way. No, don't be a dumb baby face. He needs to be smart in his hometown, in his home country.
Well, I don't see Theory being involved in this at all. I think you piss your fans off, your live fans off, I think. And I don't even know how they'd work this into the story, because Theory's just been bouncing around lately, right?
Yeah, well, he literally just started a new program Monday when Johnny Gargano came back, and they're building off of what their relationship was in NXT. Now they're doing it on the main roster. So, and actually, you don't, to Sid's credit, you don't have to build Theory into the storyline at all, because it's the Money in the Bank cash in. The whole point of it is it can come from literally anywhere at any time. So you don't have to build Theory into the story. You could just throw him out there if you really wanted to. I don't know if they would do that. If they set up, if Raw comes around on Monday and they set up Gargano and Theory at Clash at the Castle, I could see a situation where Johnny beats him in the opening match, and then maybe we see Theory later on that night, but I don't know.
What did they do with Gargano and Theory on Raw?
Johnny came out, explain to those who didn't know who he was, although he did get a really, really nice pop in Toronto. They were in Toronto on Monday, right? So the Canadian crowd loved him. He got a great reaction for when he came back. Theory came out and said, hey, look, that's great that you're here. I've kind of already established and done everything in the time that you've been gone, the last 9 months, that you came back to do. He wanted to do the old way pose for one final time, and then Gargano super kicked him in the face for being an annoying little brat, basically. So it was a good segment.
Well, we'll see what they do.
That's all we can do.
So we watch and see what they do. And that's so we can come back and say, what a stupid thing they did. So, all right, man, we went an hour 15.
We need to shut up.
I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Riju, I didn't have nothing to do with it. I don't have the stopwatch.
Hey, look, man, we haven't done a 3-man show in 2 weeks. All right, my timing is off. One last thing, Steven Chambers saying, guys, see Sasha and Naomi at Clash at the Castle. Look, I don't think it would make sense for them to be a Clash at the Castle because the women's tag team title finals are on Raw. So the question is, SP3, real quick, do we see Sasha and Naomi on Raw after Damage Control wins the tag team titles? Are we getting the Cena Punk situation on Raw?
No, you do it the Raw after Clash.
What do you think, Dutch? Do we see Sasha and Naomi on Monday?
No, I don't think so. Don't need them Monday. You need them after.
I'm going to be different and say yes.
Different.
I'm gonna go bold. I say we see him on Monday. I think we see Damage Control win. We see Sasha and Naomi show up, and we get with their versions of the women's tag team titles, and we get set something up after Clash at the Castle. All right, guys, we need to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for tuning into all 1 hour, 15 minutes of this 45. All right, I'm going to shut up. See you guys. Have a good weekend.